I was earning more money than ever before. My first six-figure year, my business was thriving. My confidence was unshakable, and I felt unstoppable. Then I made the one mistake Machiavelli warned about centuries ago, the mistake that ruins more men than failure itself. Within 3 months, my income dropped by 60%. My relationship was falling apart. I gained 25 pounds, and I felt more miserable than when I was broke. The worst part, I caused it myself. And if you're succeeding right now in your career, health, or relationships, chances are you're on the verge of making the same mistake. Machiavelli understood something modern men have forgotten. There's a moment when success becomes your greatest threat. Today, I'll explain when that moment comes, why it's so dangerous, and how to avoid the trap that's destroyed more leaders than any battlefield. Here's the truth. If you're winning, but don't understand this principle, you're not really winning, you're simply delaying defeat. In chapter 25 of The Prince, Machiavelli compares fortune to a violent river. When the water is calm, you believe you've mastered it. But if you stop building walls and barriers, it'll wipe out everything you've built. And here's what many overlook. The most dangerous time isn't during failure, it's during success. When you're failing, you stay alert, hungry, and willing to do whatever it takes. But when you're winning, you relax. You believe the rules that got you here no longer apply. I learned this the hardest way. 2 years ago, I was pushing myself more than ever. Up at 5 a.m., gym by 5:30, an hour of reading, then work by 8 a.m. I had systems for everything: diet, work, and time with my girlfriend. I followed them religiously, and they worked. My business grew 400% in 8 months. I was in peak shape, and my relationship was strong. It felt like I had cracked the code to life. Then something changed. I thought, I've made it. I can ease up now. First, I skipped a gym session. Then another. I've earned this, I told myself. Next, I stopped waking up early. I don't need such a strict routine anymore, I reasoned. My morning reading? Gone. I already know enough. My work schedule loosened. Longer lunches, shorter days. I'm the boss. I'll do what I want. Date nights with my girlfriend became, we'll plan later. Deep talks turned into shallow check-ins. We're fine, I thought. She'll understand. What I didn't realize was that every one of these systems wasn't just a habit. They were the foundation of my life, and I was tearing them down one by one. The results were predictable, but I was too blind to see them. My business slowed because I wasn't focused. Clients left because I wasn't delivering the same quality. I gained weight because I stopped training and eating out. My energy plummeted. My relationship weakened because I stopped putting in the same effort. But the hardest hit wasn't external. It was internal. I lost respect for myself, knowing I was breaking the very principles that had built my success. After 8 months of rebuilding from scratch, I began noticing this pattern everywhere. The entrepreneur who grows $1 million company through relentless work, then hands off too much and wonders why it collapses. The guy who reshapes his body with discipline, then indulges every weekend until he's back where he started. The man who builds a strong relationship through consistent effort, then gets complacent and wonders why intimacy fades. The athlete who trains tirelessly to reach peak performance, then coasts and loses to someone hungrier. This isn't just about discipline. It's a universal law that Machiavelli understood. The systems that create success are the same systems required to sustain it. But here's why it's dangerous. Success convinces you that you no longer need those systems. When you're broke, you know you need discipline. When you're out of shape, you know you need the same. When you're out of shape, you know you need the same. When your relationship struggles, you know you need to put in work. But when you're winning, you start thinking you're exempt. You start believing the rules no longer apply. There's even a psychological principle behind this. It's called the licensing effect. When you've been disciplined in one area, your brain gives you permission to relax in that same area. It says, you've proven yourself, You can take it easy now. But here's the truth your brain doesn't recognize. Success isn't permanent. It's not a destination you arrive at once and keep forever. It's something you create fresh every day through your actions. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that a prince must be both fox and lion, clever enough to avoid traps, strong enough to face obstacles, and most importantly, never stop being both, no matter how secure he feels. The moment you stop following the practices that brought success, you're not preserving it, you're destroying it. I remember the exact moment this hit me. I was in my apartment, staring at declining business numbers for the third month in a row, wearing clothes that no longer fit. After another shallow talk with my girlfriend, I thought, how did I end up here? Just 6 months ago, I was on top. That's when it became clear. I wasn't unlucky. I wasn't a victim of circumstances. I had dismantled the very systems that built my life. And here's the deeper layer most men overlook. Those systems weren't just practical tools. They were spiritual practices, ways of staying connected to something greater than myself. When I woke up early, it wasn't just about time management. It was a daily signal to myself and to the universe that I was serious about growth. When I trained consistently, it wasn't only about building muscle. I wasn't just building discipline and fitness. I was showing respect for the body I'd been given. When I invested in my relationship, it wasn't simply about maintaining a partnership. It was about honoring my commitment and the trust of the person who shared their life with me. So when I abandoned those systems, it wasn't just my schedule that changed. I was betraying the version of myself that had created my success in the first place. That's why the collapse felt so devastating. It wasn't only about losing income or gaining weight. It was about turning my back on my own potential. And here's the deeper truth Machiavelli understood. Even if he never wrote it outright, the systems that build external success are reflections of internal character. When you abandon them, you're not just shifting behavior, you're reshaping who you are. Machiavelli described this in politics, but the principle applies to every area of a man's life. He wrote that new princes are often stronger than hereditary princes. Because they remember what it took to earn power, they stay hungry, disciplined, and vigilant. But hereditary princes, those who inherit position, often grow weak because they never built the habits that create strength. They assume their position is permanent. Most men do the same with their own success. They inherit what they've already built, but forget the systems that made it possible. And here's the warning: your enemies, whether that's business competition, declining health, or complacency in relationships, never stop working. They're always pushing against what you've created. The only barrier between you and collapse is your ongoing commitment to the systems that built your success in the first place. This isn't about perfection. It doesn't mean you can never rest or enjoy your progress. It means your non-negotiables. The foundation must remain in place. For me, those became consistent training, early mornings, focused work blocks, and intentional relationship time. Everything else could flex, but those 4 pillars had to remain. When I realized what I'd done, I faced 2 choices. I could make excuses and blame circumstances, or I could take ownership and rebuild. I chose to rebuild. But I didn't just return to my old systems. I upgraded them with the lessons I'd learned. First, I identified my absolute non-negotiables, the systems that, if abandoned, would trigger collapse again. Second, I built accountability into them, ways to make it harder to quit, even when I felt successful. Third, I reframed my relationship with these systems. They weren't chores or obligations anymore. They became investments in my future self. The morning workout wasn't a task. It was an investment in my daily energy and confidence. Waking up early wasn't a sacrifice. It was me claiming quiet hours before the world demanded anything from me. Focused work blocks weren't restrictions. They were a way of honoring my potential and commitments. Relationship time wasn't an obligation. It was me nurturing the most important bond in my life. That mindset shift changed everything. Instead of believing success gave me permission to relax, I began to see that success gave me the responsibility to maintain these systems. Here's what I've learned after rebuilding and sustaining success for over a year. The systems that create success are not temporary. They are permanent practices that define who you are. A warrior doesn't stop training because he won his last battle. He trains harder, knowing more battles are ahead. A businessman doesn't stop prospecting after landing a big client. He prospects more because business is cyclical. A husband doesn't stop dating his wife once they're married. He invests more, knowing love requires constant renewal. This is the difference between men who build lasting success and men who experience temporary wins, followed by collapse. Machiavelli understood this. He knew the price of power was ongoing vigilance, not paranoia, but awareness, not anxiety, but preparation, not obsession, but discipline. The moment you believe you've arrived is the moment your decline begins. But here's the paradox. Once you understand this principle and live by it, success becomes more enjoyable, not less. Because you're no longer anxious about losing it. You know exactly how to maintain and grow it. You sleep better because you did the work that day. You enjoy your achievements more because you know they rest on a solid foundation. You love more fully because you consistently invest in what matters most. If you're winning right now, ask yourself one question. What systems built this success? Write them down, all of them. Your morning routine, your workouts, your work habits, your relationship practices, your learning, your spiritual practices. Then ask yourself, which of these am I starting to neglect because I think I don't need them anymore? Be honest, because I guarantee there's at least one. That's your warning sign, the river beginning to rise. Machiavelli's warning isn't only about politics or business. It's a law of reality. What you don't maintain, you lose. Your body, your relationships, your work, your character, they're either growing or dying. There is no maintenance mode. The systems that built your success are your life support. The moment you abandon them, the countdown to collapse begins. But here's the good news. Now you know. You've been warned. The question is, what will you do about it? Will you be like the prince who inherited his kingdom and lost it because he grew comfortable? Or will you be like the prince who conquered his kingdom and kept it by never abandoning the systems that made him strong? The choice is yours, but don't wait. Time and entropy never sleep. Neither do your competitors. Remember, success isn't about reaching the top. It's about staying there, and staying there requires the same discipline that got you there in the first place. Don't let victory become the seed of your defeat. That was Machiavelli's warning, and now it's yours. So ask yourself, what systems are you starting to abandon? Share them in the comments, because admitting it might be the first step toward protecting what you've built.